administration, when it comes to accounting and financial management, because that's where we see some of the gaps, right? So we talk to organizations like the Port, like the Convention Center, like the City of New Orleans, and we understand from their experience and also from our direct work with our small businesses across the state, that, you know, we have some work to do when it comes to preparation to manage more, well, let me say this, public, private, and again, some of your more larger complex projects. And so we are trying to move the bar in terms of making sure that the community has the necessary training, the one-on-one support, and also has that over time. And so it's important that, you know, we understand that it is that when we look at entrepreneurial development, it is a comprehensive approach, it's a holistic approach. We don't just stop at providing trainings, right? Because we know that you can attend all the classes that you want. It does not, that doesn't necessarily translate into action. It doesn't necessarily translate into me really taking in the information. So we have to provide the one-on-one support. And so when we couple all of that together, again, you know, we offer this throughout the year, right? So when we couple all of this together, it's important to make sure that we are monitoring, tracking, and making sure that we're helping our small businesses to facilitate relationships. That you hear I am talk about, you know, hey, how do we look at, you know, collaborations with one another? So we kind of, you know, we can't stop at the basics. That's one of the major points we talk to small businesses about, is that we cannot stop at the basics. We got to get off the surface. We got to dig deeper. I want to hurry up because I know you only have a certain amount of time. But so yes, in terms of getting in touch with us, please feel free to reach out to me directly or visit our website. I think we can put our I can put my email address in the chat, but also our website, urbanleaguela.org. You can find all the information about the trainings that we have coming up, but also all the additional programming that we provide. But just really quickly, in terms of accountability, I know that, you know, it's a very difficult thing to think through, right? To think about what is strategically, how do you increase accountability? But I do think that we're starting to move in that direction to make sure that larger entities are held accountable for their diversity and inclusion efforts. Just as an example, we worked with Jacob CSRS on the school's construction projects for me as the technical assistance provider to DBEs that were becoming a part of the program. And so one of the things that we worked on was we worked with and facilitated conversations and relationship building between making sure that there were inclusion efforts from the primes, but also to facilitate and assist the DBEs with managing those relationships. And so you got to really think, again, you got to kind of get off the surface. I think Rashidah talked about is like, you know, it's not just a saying, it's not just, you know, writing something down. It's really about the work that goes into inclusion, the work that goes into building up a pipeline of diverse suppliers and DBEs. There's work that primes need to do. There's work, and we help with that work. And so I'm working on another project right now to continue that kind of model around working specifically with the primes for developing their programming, right? Their inclusion efforts, making sure that they understand what that means, what that looks like, and what true efforts. You know, good faith is good. We need more than that. Like, you know, I need more than that. So I'll stop there because I got, like Rashidah said, we can go all day. We can go all day.
3 words. Yeah, well, that's kind of where I think you will end up heading in the next 20 minutes. But you said 3 words which were really crucial, which is accountability, work, and effort. And this idea that we are always better as a force of one, where it's not, you know, it's not angry or aggravating. It's like, okay, what is it that I have to do to help you educate yourself, right? And I love that part about it. I also am intrigued with the estimating, but I'm going to email you on the side about that. And I wish Keely was here because we've been working together and there's some things about estimating that's intriguing. I'm going to tag team on, I'm going to do 2 questions for 2, I'm going to do one to 2 questions for 2 people because both Tiffany and Roshan have talked about several items in the past when we were setting up for this meeting. One was the struggles with participation, right? Where Roshan just touched on, I sent out I was expecting 50 people and I got one response. Tiffany's like, I'm always struggling to find people. And then the other issue was the opportunities. What are those 3 key items when you get an RFP that says, oh, hello, this is awesome. Can you two sort of do a tag team on either lessons learned or examples so that our participants can know, okay, these are the 3 things you're going to need for the RFP. And then how do I get, you know, what are the issues with only getting one person to show up? Like, how can we better broadcast? I think Rashidah is going to talk about that in the second 20 minutes, but can you guys talk a little bit about that or your experiences with the convention center and the port?
Who goes first?
Whoever. Okay.
I yield to you, Miss Carter.
Oh, age before beauty, of course. I'll take it.
Oh my God, you guys.
All opportunities rock. All opportunities are good. I think we across the game, but all of us we will always say that every opportunity is one that we want everyone to be interested in. It creates a competitive marketplace. That was kind of the push for me at the port. You know, why should we go above and beyond to make sure that small and local companies are included? We now have a competitive marketplace. We don't have the same 1 or 2 or maybe 3 vendors bidding at the markups that they were marking up. It was so apparent that companies, the big guys, were calling our CEO saying, what's wrong at the port? It's like, nothing's wrong. We're doing everything right. And margins started to come down and operations costs started to reduce because we were creating a marketplace with our neighbors and our small companies that were here. So every opportunity is great. And we have valued this approach for sure.
That's a really
of course, thank you. I'll say this, and I'm sure Rashawn will amen it. The details are the details. And it's very important to take advantage of the Bill Nolas and the urban leagues and those entities that can help you walk through the details. I do often feel that our packages are a little intimidating. If you're stepping into this public world, you're getting a 30, 40 page document. It's intimidating. I don't like reading them and I'm paid to read them. I know it can be intimidating. So there are resources in this community and valuable resources that can walk page by page. We will do it. Oftentimes, a lot of vendors don't realize that we will take time. You submitted a question, we will take time with you. We may not be able to give you 3 hours like a Bill Nola or an Urban League, but we can certainly guide you to most of it. The evaluation criteria, we try to really hard to make sure that it's clear. We love hearing from you, but please stick to the evaluation stick to what we're asking. Oftentimes folks are giving us books and we know how big an investment is. We know time and money that's spent on these things, but we really are looking for those key component things that we're asking to evaluate. One thing that we are doing very differently here, and I'm excited, is that the same folks don't evaluate all the projects. We change it up. The guys who have been here, we had certainly some legacy folks that were very familiar with some of the older firms, kind of knew how to grade them. They knew them, they had coffee with them, they had relationships with them. We said, no, different 5. And we have seen a better evaluation scoring process as a result of it. So please pay attention to the details. And again, if information is intimidating, that's what we're here for. Email us. We won't get on the phone. We make sure that we're completely transparent. There's no favorites in this. But if you get stumped on something, please email us. And even if we don't know that it's stumping you, we're better for the question, because maybe it's something we can say differently or correct for future packages. So don't be intimidated by the process, and please pay attention to the details, because it is very important that we get what we ask for.
And I totally agree with everything Tiffany said, but I would like to take a different angle just a minute. The angle that I want to take is internally. So when you think about the convention center, you think about the same vendors has been working with the convention center forever. So a part of my job, when you say solicitation and put things out, I am now, as hard as I'm going to get people invited and get the opportunity out there, I'm going just as hard with our departments to say, no, we're not going to award this to the same guy again. What I'm going to do is put a goal on. I don't care if you've had the contract for 3 years. If it goes back out, it's going with the goal. So a lot of the internal stuff that is not really seen a lot on the outside that I am battling with, because again, convention center has very few turnovers. So we have employees that's been there 30 years. They know how they've fixed it the last time, and I've used this guy, he was great. But I am okay with being the isolated person that has to come in and say, there is a 30% goal on this time. Good faith efforts is gonna require you to do all of these things. Here is a list of the vendors that can perform this work. So I give them every step of it so that internally I'm building confidence with the departments to say, I'm not gonna leave you out there, just give you a goal and tell you to go with it. I am going to provide the vendors that I know can perform the goal, but at the same time, I'll hold your hand through it even when you have to engage with them. But I don't accept the excuse of saying, I can't find anybody. I have to go back to the guy I know. No, even if the guy you know wins, he still has to have this goal met. So that's a lot of the work that I'm doing on the opposite side of what Tiffany's saying, even though we're still doing all the stuff Tiffany is saying on the vendor side of it. So it's a big, big space. It is a lot, but I am excited when I find vendors like Nano was able to come through on a contract that was highly publicized. And I was adamant, you are going to interview these 5 vendors. Let them see, because I knew I was confident that if we don't have a lot of some area, I know in this area I was confident that I had vendors that was gonna show up and it was going to show out. That's why the awards happened the way they did. So that's as much as I can say on that one.
You all have just said 2 important things that I want to stress, is that the DBE and SBE enterprise system is better for business and the bottom line of the entity that you all are representing. That is huge. I just want to reiterate that, Klassi, you need to that is awesome. I never even thought about it, because you're looking at it from a totally different perspective than I do. And then the idea of cultural change, right? Which is something I think Rashidah is going to be talking about, is that idea of cultural change. That's massive. And I appreciate those answers. We have 3 minutes left, and so I'm going to split them up between Sonia and I am. You talked a little bit about the business development portion of how that private-public partnership, and that you have to know the players and how you have to get out there. And this system sets up a good system. This process sets up a good system for you to be able to integrate and to know the players. And Sonia, you spoke a little bit about the certification process. Now, what I want to know is, from either one of you, and then this isn't going to be the same question, but I'd like for Ian to speak a little bit more about that business development and cite an example of something that someone who's not familiar with this process can immediately go do, right? Besides looking at emails, but something that you've done or that you can provide an example of. And Sonia, can then you after that talk a little bit about what are the first things that a business would have to do to just start the process, like, i.e. get your taxes together? Like, what are the 3 things that screw them up or whatever to start it? Okay, go.
Okay, I'll jump in, Sonia, is that cool? And then you wanna go? Okay. I would say for the new business owner or the recently certified business owner, even before you're certified, I said there's 3 top things, right? All of these agencies, all of these women put together excellent informationals and matchmaker sessions and things like that to be able to get you acclimated with who the players are in a certain area. If they're showing up to the informationals and they know that there's going to be information about a job, that's who's playing. Pre-bids, right? Go to your pre-bids. When these jobs come up and these ladies put out an RFP and they say, the best thing that you can see, the most meaningful thing that you can see when it comes to learning who the players are the pre-bids. When they let a job and they're going to tell you about the job, here's the scope of the work, the people, the decision makers are the ones speaking at the pre-bid, right? Because they're the ones that have to acquire a qualified contractor or a service contractor in order to get the work done. So the person that's telling you about the scope of the work and telling you what they want, that's the decision maker. So you got to get in front of them. The people that are signing in on the sign-in list, on the sign-in sheets, those are every single person that's going to make a go or a no-go decision, most likely a go decision, about what's going on. When you sign into the pre-bids, I don't care what people think about it. I do it every time. All the primes you're gonna see all your big boys, your AECOMs, your Gutis, your whoever, all the big players. When you sign in and you put your company name down, and sometimes there's a column for it and sometimes there's not. If there's not, I write DBE, woman-owned small business, 8A certified every single time. If they allowed me a little bit more room, I'd put our whole damn resume on a sheet, but I know they won't appreciate that. But I encourage you to make sure that you also get a copy of the sign-in sheets. These ladies send out copies of those pre-bid sign-in sheets after that in form of addendum a lot of time, either on brass for the city of New Orleans or on any other type of thing. Everybody that signs in has access to get a copy of the pre-bid. That's your first marketing sheet for the job right then and there. You send an email to every single person, let them know exactly what your capabilities are that's on that sheet. That's how you're gonna get in and the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Another thing that I encourage to know about projects and things like that before they come up, because sometimes when it gets to the pre-bid phase, it's too late. A lot of these teams are already formed, because if you're being aware of your field and aware of what's going on, you're gonna know about that job before it comes out. You're gonna know as soon as the agency is funded where you're going after the job. Be in front of the 8 ball. The way to get in front of the 8 ball is to get involved with some of these trade organizations. Some of them are expensive, but getting involved in the trade organizations, the AIAs, the ACECs, even women business enterprise certifications, getting involved in this means they might have a luncheon every month. Those luncheons, they're going to invite the people that are in charge of getting the projects out. So you're going to know about a project 5 months down the road. Maybe they're going to tell you about a wish list they have for the next 4 years. So you'll know about what they have in mind. You'll also know when they get funded for it, because they're either going to be in the paper or they're going to come tell everybody, or the people that you're networking with inside of those industries are going to say, hey, I know this is coming out. I heard their funding's on the way. I know what your capabilities are because you've marketed them to me properly. Come be on my team. So that's just the smallest, most targeted way that I can tell people to try to get involved with it. But Sonia could probably know a whole lot more than I do. When it comes
that was great. That was absolutely great. Broken down well. Go ahead, Sonia.
Yes. Well, by the time a vendor registers on our portal, right, to become SLDBE, they already need to have a registered business with the state and have a tax ID number. So we already know that you need your LLCs or S Corps out of the way, your tax ID out of the way. Finances, personal and business, because you can be a brand new business. So we don't need your history for the last 3 years. Even if you register your business yesterday, you could come and register as an SLDBE today without your, business finances. But the personal have, like EM said, the resume. Yes, we require your resume. So I think having your personal net worth form completed, your finances are key documents for us to, start reviewing it. And everything else you should already have, because we require like a proof of ID, proof of citizenship. It escapes, there's so many things. But have our program is race and gender neutral, and the socioeconomic disadvantage. We also request for a personal narrative under different instances. So it could be your race or ethnicity, gender, or finances. And I know it's very personal for every applicant because we all have a story, but to be able to share and open up any instances that have hindered the ability for you and your business to grow, I think that piece, the individual has to be ready to open, to be honest, to share anything that has affected. Like there's so many stories, so many cases that affect each individual. to say, I was not able to get this project because I was denied this loan because I look like this, or I speak like this, I walked into the bank looking like this, and they automatically made an assumption about me. So I just think
on the phone instead of, or your father, can I speak to the man on the phone? You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to drum those things up because you try to block them out. But like Sonia's saying, it's so important to make sure that you dig back in, get a hold of that, because you don't realize the things that happen. It's hard. It was a hard statement to write. It makes you a little bit emotional too.
yes, and I agree with Ian, but at the same time, for us on the certification side, it gives us an understanding and a reason to say, you see, businesses like this deserve to be the prime or the sub on a big development or in any project with any agencies. And historically, we're now seeing agencies that in the past didn't have these opportunities. And now they are, and we have, like the game of chess, we have the king, the queens, right? We have the queens in there to fighting for all of these opportunities. So with me, it starts with that.
That was beautiful and yes, personal
Terri,
statement.
I would like to chime in a second. This is Rashawn. I just wanted to piggyback off what Sonia said in reference to certification, and I'll be very, very quick. I just think from the vendor standpoint, when you're applying for SLDBE or any of the designations, be certain to understand, go at it with the lens of you're painting a story of who your business is. If you think about it like that and you say, listen, I want them to know exactly who I am, what I provide, and how I got here. All good, bad, and indifferent. You need to paint a story of, this is all the hard things I went through. These are all the easy things that happened. These are all the contracts I was awarded. If you look at your application from that lens, it won't seem so daunting to get through all the documentation that's necessary.
That was beautifully put, and quite honestly, the personal statement made me cry over and over again. And I still can tell you some horrible stories, something that just happened yesterday, but I don't have the time and nobody wants to hear from me. They want to hear from you all. At this time, I'm going to pass it over to Rashidah, who was the actual instigator of all of this entire webinar. And I can't thank her enough for her dedication. And I can't tell you, each one of you all, I just want to put it out there, because of you, our business is thriving, and I'm greatly appreciative and love. I truly love all of y'all. Some of y'all don't even know how weird that is, but I know it's not. It's totally, I love y'all. Thank you. Okay, Rashidah, off to you.
Thank you, Terri. And I'll take instigator. I'll also take agitator as well. So in this portion of the panel, I will ask the panelists questions about big picture visions and larger contextual issues. Starting with Sonia, do you have any suggestions for successful joint partnership between primes and DBE entities?
For the primes and for the small business, to be honest, to have a game plan and for both parties to be legally prepared, right? Not only the joint venture, but the individuals to go at it, prepare, already in good faith, to make sure that the small business will learn from the venture. So it's not only on paper, he or she will be my partner. No, we need to be able to measure when the joint venture began, this is the technicality, I don't know, the experience that, the small business came in with, but we're at the middle, this is where they are, and at the end, this is where they are. To be able to say they are now connected with a manufacturer, I can directly procure the equipment from the manufacturer. If you're a roofer, right, you can directly go with the big guys. So that's what they have to bring in mind when coming into a joint venture.
Thank you so much. And thank you for providing perspective on that, because I think a lot of times the issues arise in the nuanced parts of the process. And I think we talk a lot about beginning, actually getting the contract and ending the contract, hopefully successfully. But a lot of times people do run into issues in those little nuanced pockets. So thank you very much for that, Sonia. Oh, sorry, yes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right around the nuance. It's the details of one, understanding how to effectively manage those relationships. So by that I mean understanding expectations, understanding what the prime is looking for in a sub, and then understanding and positioning yourself to be able to effectively perform, but also administer that contract. And so I always talk to, in our team, it's not just me, it's our team. We talk to our small businesses and our DBEs about, making sure that one, you are vetting the relationship. Not all primes are for you, right? And so while we want to build capacity, while we want to get awards, you still have to, just as they are vetting you, you are vetting them. And so I always make sure that we understand. So that's why it's important to connect for our smaller firms, our DBEs, minority-owned businesses, women-owned business, to connect with a resource partner. That could be the Urban League, that could be Good Work Network, that can be SBDCs, whoever it is, to really learn how to manage these relationships when you're a subcontractor. There's the, like you said, the technical piece, or I would say the legal or contractual piece. There's also the relationship management piece. And then there's the financial piece, right? That you need to understand before signing a contract. And so I encourage smaller firms to always make sure that you are getting the education under your belt around how to do that effectively before you sign anything.
Can I add something really super quick to that? Let me tell you how this. If somebody wants to put you on a team, ask them exactly what the scope coverage will be for the team. Because people will put you on teams to use your brand name to get on teams. And this has happened for, I don't know, how long we've been in business, 26 years, 30 years. They will use you to get on the team, to put your brand on there. And they'll say, we're going to give them 10% of this project, 15% of the project. Well, what are you going to do? Because panels see through that. The right panels see through that. Some of these women are revamping and reshaping the selection panels. That is the key to opportunity inside of a lot of these agencies that have a good old boys club. So if you don't know exactly what the scope is, you're going to look bad to the selection panel, not just them, but you, because you didn't even ask what is it going to be, because the project will go on and the project will get to phase 4 and you will keep looking up and saying, hey, where's my part? I don't know. We don't quite have it for you. And it happens. It's happened to us. And so I really want to reiterate exactly what Klassi and everybody's saying, is that know exactly what your part of the project is and have that written down on the DBE form.
That's right.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I am, and I actually was going to ask you to answer that same question, but in addition to what you just said, do you feel there is a need for a DBE watchdog group? Because in various conversations at networking events and conversations with colleagues, I've heard frustrations from them about missed opportunities or feelings of exclusion because of whatever sentiments or whatever promises they heard from prime contractors. And from this discussion, I can tell a lot of the ladies on this panel have started the beginnings of a DBE watch group, but what are your feelings on that?
I think that's absolutely needed. I think there have been DBE watch groups at certain agencies, but for the wrong reasons, right? So the ones for the right reasons are exactly like all of these ladies are saying. One thing that I think about a lot, and I have a lot of discussions about it even as of late, is, some DBEs will be like, I've told my DBE office in this. We need to stop complaining about what's going on at the DBE office and uplift them. The people we need to be complaining to are the people at the top that aren't empowering and staffing DBE offices the way that they need to be staffed. You got 100 people in a department of finance because it's important, right? Well, if you would like for everything and all these DBE programs to flow the way that they need to, we need to staff up the DBE offices with the staff that can actually have the time to be watchdogs. Many of these women do these jobs on their days off, right? Because they're passionate about it. And they shouldn't have to do that. Another thing that Watchdog should be a part of is watching for the DBEs that are okay with being pass-throughs. I take exceptional issue with DBEs that got a $6 million contract. And if you really were to pull the layers back, because all of us really know, right? If you're a DBE in this space, we know who does what, we know who's actually doing things and who's saying they're doing things, and allowing a $6 million pass-through to go through a DBE program and make it look successful when it's not. Right. And so there's a lot of ways that, you know, don't be that guy, because the entire community will know exactly who you are and nobody will want to work with you. At least not on the DBE side. And we form a lot of all DBE teams. Terri and I have gone after things together and we will continue to do so. You know, the Watchdog, I wish there was that, but I think that the way to get to that point where we can empower these offices is to uplift and speak out for our advocate partners that are on here, to keep them informed of some of the games that go on, because they are our trusted allies in these places, and honestly helping them and informing them helps us. So that's just my 2 cents on it.
Thank you so much. And I'm also curious as to how you handle relationship management.
I'm in a mentor-protege relationship, right? I'm 8A certified on the federal side. I'm DBE certified. If there's an acronym, I got it, right? Not every big business partner, I think Klassi said it before, not every big business partner is the right business partner for you. I call it dating before marriage, right? A joint venture is kind of marriage. Mentor-protege, marriage. So date around a little bit, a lot. I'm not gonna say what I would really say if we weren't on a panel, but date around a lot so that you can figure out the companies that have company cultures that are close to yours. If it doesn't feel right, you get in the room and people say a lot of things that don't really gel with what's going on in 2020 and don't really understand, probably not the partner for you. I had to eliminate a partner that I've been trying to work with for 2 years now. We're actually working together at the same time because he wanted me to put 1% on a DBE form that went to the city of New Orleans and another thing on the contract. And I was like, that's hocus pocus stuff and I'm not doing it. And so, you know, he's gonna go tell everybody that he had an issue with me and I'm difficult. Well, yeah, I'm difficult if you want to misrepresent things and I'm not gonna stand by that. So if I lose work, c'est la vie. It might've been a more difficult project to be on. But I want to work with partners that want to work with me and do it for the right reasons, because we're a quality engineering firm that just happens to have quote unquote valuable acronyms behind our name. We as DBEs fight for 35% of everything. They are fighting for 100. So let's just keep that in mind. You're on mute, baby.
Sorry, I thought my fingers were quicker than that. So my next question is for Tiffany. I recall there was once a time, I think under the Morial administration, that there was an unbundling of government contracts. Is there, or do you know if there has been a recent effort to unbundle contracts to allow for more accessibility to smaller DBE contractors?
Regrettably, there is not enough of it at our agencies. It's not as cost effective for the teams that get to make those decisions. We have a team of engineers, of course, they sit with the specs and it's time to put the package together. It's more work to manage 3 separate projects versus putting those the subcontractable parts in the bigger project. But that's where we, in this alliance, this is where we come in at. You know, Rashawn gets an opportunity to sit and look at the subcontractable parts. We all do. And then that's how we are able to start reaching out to IAM and the teams that we know. And hey, Terri, this may be something for you. It's a great concept. And certainly we wish we could do more of it. It's just not as cost effective. And the port and the belt, we're self-funded. We're kind of quasi-state. It's a unique position to be in. So the monies that we get from our tenants are the monies that we get to spend. So we have to count every single, you know, component of it. And having such an aged infrastructure as many of our public entities have. I mean, we're an old city and a lot of our, you know, infrastructure has to be repaired and we have to do maintenance on wharves. So it's a matter of balance. So where we can't debundle, or we can't debundle packages, that's where our procurement team and our other PMs come in and start reaching out to those teams saying, hey, subcontractors, get ready. This is coming, this is coming on board. I also wanted to make mention that the port is expanding. We operate in Jefferson, St. Bernard, and in Orleans. Hello. And we're looking at our master plan. We're planning to open or try to build a fourth container terminal in St. Bernard. That's going to be a big project for this region. So we're talking to vendors now, say, get ready. We're doing feasibility studies. We're doing downriver studies. This is a great opportunity for professional service firms to get ready now for something that's in our master plan, probably 2 to 3 years from now, but it takes that type of effort. And although, we're going to probably segment it as much as we can, but a lot of it's going to hit at one time. We have 4 gantry cranes that are coming in. We have as-needed engineers that have been prepped 2 years ago for something that we're planning. Fingers crossed that we can get it from China in time, but coming in next year. We will do our parts to circumvent that opportunity because we can't segment it. We're double timing, making sure that we communicate. And that's why these type of outreaches are so very important, because we do get a chance to plant those seeds with those smaller companies saying, we recognize that you need lead time. We recognize how valuable it is for you to have information 2 years, 1 year in advance. So this is kind of what we've pivoted to.
Can I chime in real quick? This is
Of
Rashawn.
course.
Let me say this. I just had an example of that. I'm telling you, less than 30 days. And what I did for the vendor, our prime that won, because we couldn't debundle, she came to me and she said, I know I'm going to keep missing this because I'm buying directly from the manufacturer. How do I get participation on this? I said, thank you for asking. Let me help you out here. So what I did, I teamed her up with my small supplier to say, you can do 2 things. You can joint venture with this small company. I don't care if it is a 5-10% of what you're buying. Let them and build a relationship for them with your manufacturer. Introduce them to the manufacturer. Your company is 15 times as big as this small company. They won't be your competitor next week. So therefore, helping them to establish the relationship with the manufacturer is one way. Second way is to joint venture. When you come to me and you say I have 0%, 100% I'm going to push back. Now, because of public bid law, there are some restraints that I can't go as far as I can go on an RFP and RFQ. However, you still have to give me good faith efforts. It's not waved away. It is show me what you've done to try to get to this goal. So in that particular instance, they are now working together. They are now engaging. They are now going out to meet the manufacturer, and preferably we'll have something that comes from it. But that's the ways, if you are a large company and you want to do it, there are ways to get it done. It's just a matter of figuring out how to get it done and understanding the small guy. If it's 5%, take it. Listen, go and meet the manufacturer, do the 5% on this one, because convention center buys a lot of the same things, but we buy a whole lot of other things as well. So suppliers are needed all the time.
Thank you so much for that. And to follow up to your answer, what do you think is needed from the architecture, engineering, and construction profession to effectively create a DBE pipeline? Also, since you mentioned joint venture partnership, what are your suggestions for successful joint venture partnership?
I respond just as the ladies did prior to. The success is 1, knowing your scope of work. 2, I think from internal, a person that's in a role like mine is to actually monitor that contract to the end. So I have contracts now. Convention Center was very new to subcontracting opportunities. They did a lot of direct with DBEs. If I'm gonna get a DBE, I'm gonna directly contract with the Convention Center. Now we are starting to engage in I think I have 20 projects now that have subcontracting opportunities. So it's new for them, not new to me. I was a compliance officer. So one of the things for the joint venture is to monitor it to the end, make certain that if you at the 20% mark and your DBE is not being utilized, start having a conversation. You get to the 50% mark and you can gauge it based on what you committed, where this is supposed to be, and do not accept, oh, their scope is at the end, because that's what they're gonna try and give you. So for me, you have to give me a plan to say, I'm at 50%, this is where they're gonna come in. If you don't have something that tells me, I have the authority within the convention center to say, I'm going to go to finance, I'm going to go to the department, and I'm going to put a hold. Because remember, the projects we have now that is ramping up, it's all in one spot. So I could just walk downstairs and see my projects. I don't have to go do site visits all over the city. My projects is in one spot. So I go on the jobs, I talk to the PMs, I talk to the directors of departments. I go all avenues to make certain that if you committed to a DBE, the DBE better show up, because most of the DBEs I know when they show up. So you can't misrepresent it, because in my role, I was the person certifying them. So most of them that's gonna show up on our work, it's gonna be like, oh, hey, Rashawn, because they're used to me certifying them. So I think it's just being very committed to watching the contract all the way to the end.
Amen. It's been a big deal, you know, in New Orleans, you see all these big headlines, you know, at the beginning of large scale projects, and everybody's talking about DBE is so serious and the DBE better be this. And there's, I mean, across the front of the newspaper, once the project is awarded, you never hear a single thing about it. You don't know what, how it transpired, if DBEs actually got anything. You don't hear anything. And so what Rashawn is saying is almost still a new thing to some of these contractors that have made an art out of being able to skirt DBE rules and adding people and not utilizing them when they're supposed to. So if you're not being utilized, let your people, let your certification people know. I'm gonna tell you what else too. It's not just on the prime. I'm dealing with issues right now with a head of a department that has come in and he's not very familiar with DBE programs. And he is allowing primes to say, you know what, I'm taking this whole piece of work away from you. Well, he didn't do his research to know that that piece of work that you think is just 1 or 2 positions is 90% of what your DBEs do on projects. So sometimes you gotta be, it's scary, right? You don't want to be blacklisted, or you don't want to lose any work, but you're going to lose it anyway if this person takes a portion of your scope of work and removes it from the contract to give it to one majority company. You know, it's a scary world around here when it comes to that. But honestly, tracking these things and ensuring that our people know about these issues is the only way we can be protected and be able to protect ourselves at the same time.
Thank you for that, I am. And we have a question from one of the participants. Chris says, CSRS has had the pleasure of working with many of your organizations as well as a variety of firms across the New Orleans region. Unfortunately, once we leave the New Orleans region, we often find ourselves serving as the lone advocate for inclusion of small, minority, and women-owned businesses. In collaboration with Charbonnet and Associates, we've included requirements in our LCTCS program statewide. But the further west and north we go, the interest and resources get awfully thin. The question is, for the panel, is there anything that the panelists can do to lead the rest of the state to catch up with New Orleans in regards to inclusion?
Listen, it's still Louisiana. It doesn't get any easier. You go up to Shreveport, it's a little bit different. Yeah, you can have a little bit more success. But if you look at our legislature, okay, and a lot of the representatives of those parishes are where they are, that's why it is the way it is. Look at just this past special session and the things that were passed that were pretty backwards. If you look at it, if you look at those leaderships and those leaders, those are the ones fighting against everything that you're trying to do. So the best thing I can tell people when it comes to getting further into North Louisiana is either don't waste your time. Honestly, you can only be in so many places at so many times, right? And your time is valuable. If you're not going to break through, stop fighting against something that doesn't work. I had to learn that. It took me a very long time to learn that. Your time will be better utilized, maybe even in another state. But I hate to say it. And the other thing is vote. Encourage people to vote. That's the only way to change leadership.
Go ahead.
I'm not on the panel, but I would say this, is that I was going to ask Klassi about this specific question. You made a very good point. The one other thing to think about is how do you push the state agencies, where I think LSU just started having a small business enterprise program. That's pretty, Louisiana State University, I think that's pretty telling. You have to look at those big entities and how do you push those private partner published private partnerships
Mhm.
to actually include DBEs. There, I forgot the law that says, but that says that they have to use DBE participation, but the minimum requirement is so large. What is that? I know y'all may know it. Stafford, I don't know. I can't. What is it?
If it's the feds, it's the CFR. Another reason that it's a big deal that Klassi and Urban League are working for DOT. I've had to fight DOT all the way up to Washington, D.C. on appeal for not following their own rules when it came to DBEs. I have a whole case about it, and I won. And I'm one of the only overturns for certifications at DOTD, at Louisiana DOTD, that has ever been. And so it's a big deal when Urban League becomes the advocate and the DB supportive services role for that, because people in these positions have they're people, right? And so the same thing that y'all are talking about in North Louisiana and West Louisiana were the people that were in charge of certification at Louisiana DOTD, that's in the past now. And so I'm glad that we're moving forward in the state a lot more.
So that's it. That's the word, is from a statewide perspective. Am I unmuted? From a statewide perspective, we need to be thinking about advocacy. And so it's the same thing when you're dealing one-on-one with primes. It's the same thing when you're dealing with statewide or state serving organizations, public and private. Like, we need to be looking at how do we incorporate advocates and champions of diversity and inclusion and supplier diversity and vendor diversity into their sourcing processes. It is going to be, when you talk about going further west, I think it's going to be a slower process, but there has to be a starting point. And that begins with, like I am saying, and when you talk about policy, we talk about leadership and the legislature, we need to be making sure that not just, when you talk about the, New Orleans and Baton Rouge, it's more than New Orleans and Baton Rouge, right? We're talking about across the state, there is a lot of work to do. And we know this because, the Urban League has been, again, in 2016, we announced that we were, moving our services to incorporate the state, right? And so we see this firsthand. We know that there was work to be done. But again, the good thing is that we've started. And I think as an ecosystem, we have started. And as an ecosystem, I think we have the best practices from organizations like the Port and like, the Convention Center. We all are working together to continue to build out what we believe to be a world-class system of diversity and inclusion when it comes to entrepreneurship, small business development, and inclusion. So I feel like we do have a lot of work to do. And again, we know it, we see it, it's difficult. But again, it starts with leadership, and it starts with having advocates to go into these communities, advocates to be on the ground, advocates to be a voice, right? And then to promote policy that drives change. That's where it's at.
Thank you so much, Klassi. And to build on to your answer, I want to ask you, and I want to preface my question by saying this. So the architecture, engineering, and construction professions are overwhelmingly white and male. And as we have this conversation about DBE participation, we need to take into consideration the professional organizations we are a part of and how they can also be a part of that process. So with that being said, how can we come together and mobilize our collective power to be these advocates? Because it's going to take a power base to bring these issues to the forefront, and it's going to take our collective voice to bring it to the state. Because as we know, the state is very different demographically and from a thought, and has different ideologies than the city of New Orleans does. So Klassi, that question is for you.
So for the, I would say for the AI community, for those individuals that are part of this community, but they're looking for how to, well, first of all, I'm gonna say people are looking for how to, but you first have to value diversity and inclusion, right? Like, So we can put in place all of the, guidance and mentorship. If you don't believe that diversity and inclusion is valuable to the industry and to the profession, then we've already lost, right? So let's back up to understanding the value of diversity and what that means. When, I was in a corporate setting, we also always, and I was in corporate supplier diversity, and we used to always talk about the bottom line, right? It contributes to the bottom line. So when we talk about who our customers are, who our customers look like, when we talk about the value to the supply chain, when we talk about what diversity means in terms of, to the bottom line, that makes a world of a difference, right? When you understand the business case. So I think it's important to establish that, right? In terms of what the value is of diversity within the profession. And then once we can agree on that, and once we can understand that, now it's time to move to the next phase, right? And the next phase is, what does it look like for your organization? What does it look like for the work that you do? So, diversity and inclusion is not just about, necessarily who we contract with, right? It could be, who we employ, where are we getting our interns from? Who are we, what community organizations are we supporting, right? So again, it's not just one-dimensional thing, right? It is multiple dimensions of what understanding the value of diversity and what that means for an organization. So I think that I could go on all day about this, but starting there, I think with mindset and understanding the value and understanding the business case, and then how that looks for your organization and what efforts you're willing to make in order to make, to leverage that and to make that a reality within the work that you do, I think is where we need to go. Does that answer your question? Because you're talking about, and that's what I was, I had asked Lauren, I was like, what is who's on this call, right? Is it DBEs, right? Is it, the general community that may be the non-minority community? Like, who's on the call so we know, right, who we can direct, the information to? Because I think that you're right, it is going to take a collective approach. Everybody has to be involved in diversity, right? If you work in an organization, and I used to, again, from a corporate perspective, if you didn't have, from the top all the way down to lower management, if everybody wasn't a part of this and understood it and it wasn't a part of the culture, it didn't work, right? So it doesn't work if you don't understand the value and understand the business case. So I'll leave it there because I know we're up on time, but I think it's important for us to understand that and to do that. And so again, leverage the resources that are here, the people that are here. We are, again, have many resources, many connections. We all operate within this ecosystem of the supplier diversity, small business development, and of course, diversity and inclusion. And again, that is not just from a supplier perspective. I'm talking about across the board. And so please, for those on the call, please leverage us as resources. We can connect you, we can help you, we can provide you with information and resources to help you navigate.
Thank you so much, Klassi. And I know we're pressed for time, so I guess I'll wrap it up. I would love to continue this conversation at a future date because there are so many other questions and so many other discussions to be had. But I just want to say thank you all so much. The attendees that are on this call, they range, right, in their demographics. But I just want to say that you all are dynamic individuals. You all are champions. I used to be a civil servant, and I'm currently fighting the diversity, equity, and inclusion fight at Tulane University in my specific department. So you all are my champion because you guys give me the motivation to continue on. Some of you all have been fighting this fight for 10, 15, 20 years, and it's just so admirable to see the work that you all do, but also the energy that you continue to have in moving the needle forward. So thank you all so much.
Okay, I was going to have you take it home, but I couldn't stop myself. I just wanted to tell all of you women who have helped me and our business that I truly appreciate you. I honor you, and you are mentors, and you've done so much, and I appreciate it. And I appreciate this time too. The group, as Klassi has just said, that are watching our people that are primes, people that are subs. There's a whole diversity of people that are watching us right now. So everything that you came and brought to this table today, they will take home and hopefully project outward. And I hope to have another one of these again. Rashidah, you need to start agitating me more, man. You need to come up with like all kinds of things. You have me till December, but I'm sure Julie Babin would do more as well. So thank you all very much for every single thing you do. And you all go out and have a great day.
Thank you.
I'll text all y'all later. Bye.